Wow, I'm just going to jump right into it. I just saw the latest version of X-Files, the season 10, episode 1. I guess they're going to do 6 episodes, and wow. Uh, wow, I would like to just get into a group and talk about everything that was on it. So basically, I'm going to give some spoilers here. So if you haven't seen X-Files, the latest 6 episodes, episode 1, you might want to not listen to this until you've seen it, so count this as fair warning. In essence, by the way, I'm in my bedroom, so my recording isn't optimal at all. But in essence, I don't know what to think of it. The original X-Files basically was kind of a psyop. This X-Files is definitely a psyop. I don't know if it's for good or bad, but it looks like Chris Carter's just coming out with, at least in episode 1, he threw Mulder. He basically outlined what a lot of us are thinking is going on. And before I get into that, I get pretty into conspiracy theories, and I just want to plead my case that I'm sane, because I'm going to say some pretty crazy stuff in a couple minutes. So, reality to me is, I believe there is absolute reality, there is absolute truth. But sometimes you learn things and sometimes you think things, and in order to operate on a day-to-day level, you just kind of put them in a box. So there's a lot of stuff I quote know, kind of theoretically, I guess, and a lot of stuff that I might buy into that's just out there, crazy. But I just kind of put it into a box, and like the day-to-day me, I'm not thinking about alien abductions or X-Files or, all this stuff when I'm going to the store to pick up something to eat or whatever. So I don't want to come off as somebody who, I do think about it a lot, maybe too much, but, somebody who's still sane. I believe some things, but I'm not letting it, destroy my life. I think it's a real danger of getting into some of this stuff, because people do have their lives destroyed. But anyway, let's get into it. So this whole theory that somehow this evil cabal right around after World War II got a hold of alien technology, and they're using the technology against us, and the geopolitical, socioeconomic conditions were as such where they could actually put together a clandestine conspiracy that they've been rolling out over the last 40 or so years, where they're going to take everything over. And they're doing it by stealth. They're doing it by surveillance technology. Some of this technology is fed possibly from aliens. They have all these advanced craft, and which a lot of them are UFOs. And again, the show just lays it all out there. It talks about what a lot of conspiracy people are thinking. And Chris Carter either... You can look at it like this. Like the original X-Files were a psyop. They kind of get everybody interested in aliens and conspiracy theory. And then we had the early internet where you had BBSs that were dedicated to it. In the 90s, that's kind of where early 90s is where I kind of got my start. And then now we have the internet where you've got Alex Jones and all these mainstream conspiracy stuff sites going out there. So the actual, if you survey the populace, what is conspiracy theory, would have been outlandish 20 years ago that people believe that. I bet you more and more people do. And I think it's deliberate. I don't know if it's planned by some evil cabal as a way of predictive programming or to socialize people to know what to expect, so when it happens they resist it less. Or if it's a spiritual thing, which I'll get into more in a minute, and maybe Chris Carter's totally just this guy who's had an interest in conspiracy theories, who made this great show that ran for 9 seasons, and now he's back because more stuff's bubbled up and he sees a new market and he's going for it. Totally non-nefarious on his part, but maybe he's being played by things that he doesn't quite understand. Or that's just that he's out making a great show. I mean, I don't know. I can't see. If I was to bet money, I would go on the spiritual option where he's just a guy and he's getting these inclinations and he's making the X-Files again as a greater part of the predictive programming psyop to enable whatever is going to come. And so what is that? What's the one difference? The main reason the show is basically, like, this latest 6 episodes is basically invalidating all the other 9 episodes, saying that Scully and Mulder were basically played, and a lot of the information, they were getting close, so they were led down dark tunnels and had all these false clues, and the whole alien meme, although there is some alien technology involved, is false. It's really a darker cabal with although aliens are around, this cabal really has nothing to do with them. And so I'm guessing, and again, this is only the first episode, the next 5 episodes will be about exposing this cabal and trying to destroy it or knock it back into place so these things can't happen. And again, you could look at Chris Carter as some figure that is hearing all this stuff, and maybe he's using the X-Files as a way to give warning to people. You can look at it like that, but I mean, basically, through Mulder, through a couple speeches there, he's hitting all the points that a lot of us are very concerned about. But there is one thing that I worry about in all this, besides it just being a predictive programming psyop to kind of further indoctrinate people that, yeah, the government has alien technology, yeah, there's a conspiracy, there's this dark cabal that's trying to conquer the world. And then when it actually evidence shows more and more that it actually exists, it's kind of like, oh yeah, I already knew. Where if it would have came out of nowhere, you would have been in total shock, and there would probably be some kind of rebellion against it. If it's just constantly harped on you through the X-Files, and I find it very interesting that the Childhood's End series on Sci-Fi came out as well, timing this, which basically says, along with esoteric teachings, that there's these greater minions that are essentially demons in the Christian ideology. And the Christians would say it's deceptive, but the esoterics would say that it's them bringing gradual enlightenment, and this, in Childhood's End, taking the form of aliens that look like what we preconceive as demons, though demons don't look anything like that in real life. They can, I guess, but, angels are beautiful beings, and even the fallen ones can appear like that. That's how they deceive a lot of people. So what I worry about is that there's a darker agenda at play besides just, again, the predictive programming, and that agenda is to really obfuscate the truth once again. And this is kind of the stuff that I played at. There was a book written a long time ago called The Omega Conspiracy by I.D.E. Thomas. And he basically spelled out how aliens were really demonic beings, and they were going to come and deceive humanity in the end times. And basically, I was thinking along those lines before I ever read that book, but if you can get a copy of that book, it's really hard to find now. I happen to have one. I had 2, but I destroyed one, which by accidentally, because I was reading it and spilled something on it, which really bummed me out. But there's other guys who write about the same topics, the kind of Christian guys that are the Book of the Month Club, like L.A. Marzulli, Tom Horn, and all those. I mean, I'm not saying that they don't have some good theories, but it's definitely crank out stuff for a consumer base. And, I don't know. I'll let you deal with them, what you think about them. But this whole psyop that it's just humanity, like aliens maybe popped down and for whatever reason allowed some of their stuff to be captured and make it look like a crash. I think the X-Files kind of hinted at that, and I would agree that that's very much what happened. And if you read some of the stuff about the Babylon Working Group that maybe L. Ron Hubbard was involved with, and some books hint at what that was about, and it deals with Roswell summoning type Golem type creatures, homunculus, I think they're called. And I think what the darker truth that might be hidden is that a lot of the genetic engineering, a lot of the things where babies are being kidnapped and through abductions, which seems legit. There's a lot of evidence of that. Not only babies, but like cattle mutilations, where a lot of the cuts and stuff are made with like lasers, and they're very precise, and they typically go for reproductive type organs. I think there's some really dark stuff going on there, and I do believe that it's part of an alien deception. But it isn't so, like, the beings behind it might be using some kind of dark cabal to pull this off, but the beings behind it have a more nefarious purpose. And I think what that is they are going to stage some kind of alien advent. And the Bible talks about the mark of the beast, and the mark of the beast being very particular or weird or uncharacteristic. Because throughout the Bible, God comes off as a harsh judge, like he's judging everybody for his sins, kind of this guy just waiting for you to fall and whack you. But if you really read the Bible, that's not how God is at all. God's a holy God, but he's trying to get people to come to him, to get saved, to turn and change their ways, and he's constantly offering opportunities for people to repent and quit doing what they're doing and to turn to him and escape judgment. Like, Jesus came into the world not to judge the world because the world's already judged, but to save it. And so how does that play into everything? I think that the mark of the beast has to do with genetic tampering. It's not like some little or whatever those computer chips are called, my brain just died, that they're going to stick in everybody's hand and you need to have those to buy or sell. I mean, that might play into it, but I really think the mark of the beast is going to be something where it actually has to do with your DNA manipulation, where they're going to, and I'm not the only one who thinks this, though I've thought it for a while, and that would explain why in the Bible it says if you take the mark of the beast, there's no possible redemption for you. And the reason why that is Jesus in the Bible is called the kinsman redeemer, where he comes to save humanity. And the thing is I think that if you take this mark of the beast, this DNA change, that it will offer all sorts of stuff. It might offer you near immortality, changing diseases, correcting all these genetic defects, modifying you to possibly live in an environment that is quickly deteriorating due to weather manipulation or legitimate changes in our environment due to pollution or solar cycles or whatever. This mark of the beast will be a way for a new humanity to evolve. And I think that a lot of this genetic tampering with abductees and their babies are playing into that. And I really wouldn't be surprised if there are people like on the X-Files, like Scully, who have DNA that's been tampered with. I don't know if it's alien DNA or something from this not extraterrestrial but ultra-terrestrial intelligences, which the Bible claims are demonic, are manipulating humanity. Some of this genetic manipulation is so that they can create biobots, so they can temporarily possess them, so they can come into our plane of existence for extended periods of times. And again, I'm getting crazy now, but this is what I think about it. I think that angels and demons can manifest for a time, but if they, especially the demonic side, if they have to stay for a long time, it requires an incredible amount of energy for them to do it. And that's why you have occultists that do blood sacrifices and rituals and all that. I believe, and I'm totally off from this is just my opinion, obviously, of some crazy guy on the internet, that part of those rituals and stuff like that has to do with releasing some kind of force that allows the demonic to linger longer. And I think for this grand deception that's being set up, where they're going to proclaim themselves alien saviors of the world, they're going to need bodies that they can stay in for a lot longer. And I think a lot of this abduction stuff and genetic engineering, it reminds me of the Nephilim of Genesis 6, where basically the angels started interbreeding with women. And I think the Bible's uses language a lot of times that we can understand. I don't know if that was like totally sexual intercourse or whatnot, but it could have been. But they changed the DNA of humanity, And if you look at the underlying Hebrew, it talks about Moses and his family being the only ones that were left on the face of the earth righteous. If you really look at what that means, and again, I'm not a Hebrew expert, but I've read this, it essentially means that they were genetically pure. They were the only ones left. And so once again, that puts God in a totally different light, where basically humanity has been corrupted, and he wants to get rid of all that demonic corruption. And so he allows the earth to go through this destructive period and brings Moses through and starts humanity again with like a reset. And I think we're looking at the mark of the beast being something similar to that coming in our future. So what's the X-Files psyop in all this? Well, what I really worry about is it exposing like 95% of what I think's going on. I mean, you had Mulder just spill it out for you. But I think what it's hiding is it's more than just this dark cabal of government, and I worry that dark cabal of government is expendable. And I'll get into that again in a sec. But it's hiding the fact that there is this ultra-terrestrial beings that are using human dupes and deep dark labs, and although I think a lot of that is also demonic disinformation and doctrines of demons to deceive people in the last days. I think a lot of the stuff that talks about like deep underground bases that are alien bases where they're breeding hybrids and stuff, I think a lot of that is total deception and psyops. But I do think some of it's true, and I'm not saying that I'm above being deceived or that I know everything or whatever. But I think there is an element of that, especially to create some kind of Frankenstein-like living organisms, golems, that the spirits of the demonic can enter into and deceive people. In the book of Revelation, it talks about beings that look like frogs, 4 beings coming out of the mouth of the beast to deceive humanity. Those might be biologically created golem-type things that are built out of some kind of military vat of genetics and creatures that have been created. And I also think that these beings want to enter more into our space, and so these bodies that they're building temporary allows them to do that. Maybe I'm getting out there, but I do think that they're going to offer us DNA to change us, to bring humanity to the next step, to quote save us. And that, I mean, if you take that, you're done, because in Jesus you're no longer human, and the death of Jesus on the cross applying to your sins no longer applies to you because you're some kind of other thing. That's just a theory. You can take it for what it's worth. But the darker psyop is, as I've always said, watch out for the New World Order defeating the New World Order to create the New World Order. And what I mean by that is Satan is totally capable and willing to throw his current minions under the bus if he can use new dupes to do something new that gives him even more power. So right now you do have the elite of the world, in my opinion, a lot of them, that are indoctrinated into the Mystery Babylon schools, the esoteric stuff, and they're cooperating, some of them directly, probably a few amount, but I do think it's some, and I vacillate on that too, with the demonic, and that's directing their actions. A lot of people don't understand exactly what they're doing and why, but some people do, and they're trying to build this New World Order. But now all of a sudden everybody knows about the New World Order, everybody knows about the Bilderberg, everybody knows about Bohemian Grove, everybody knows about the Council of Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, all the organelles of this beast system, if you will, and how it ties in with the financial world and intelligence communities and drug running. All that stuff's becoming known. And one of the things I always worry about is it's not becoming known because there's the internet. It's not becoming known because suddenly we're super wise and we can figure out all the stuff that's in the darkness. Though I do think that the internet and communication technology is helpful in bypassing the traditional media that blocks a lot of this stuff. But I really think that us all becoming aware of this is purposeful. And I think it's because, again, Satan's going to throw all his current minions under the bus. It's like all these bankers and corrupt politicians and drug-dealing intelligence operatives. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's lots of people who are in banking that are honest, who know nothing about this, There's a lot of people in the intelligence community who are trying to keep America safe. There's a lot of police who are trying to do a good job and are moral people. This isn't directed at them, but in all of those cases, it's not too hard to find doing research sketch. I mean, you just start researching, you'll find it. And so I think that one of the things that I'm seeing with this, quote, great awakening of people, you know, all these people now use the term, are you awake, and the sheeple that aren't awake and all that. I think you got to be careful, because the awake people might be the greatest sheeple and dupes of all. Because what's going to happen, I think, is there's going to be a crisis, and there's going to be this push by the current New World Order to try to establish some kind of control. But I don't think it's meant to work. I think the people that are really meant to succeed are all the people that are in the New Age ideology, that are the, quote, awakened. They're talking about the new evolution of man, and who have a lot of facts right about conspiracy theories and stuff, but they totally reject the truth of Christianity, the Bible, and they're all about gaining more knowledge. It's kind of like in the Bible, it talks about how the Jews seek for a sign and the Greeks seek for knowledge. You know, it's kind of like the two types of groups. There's people that want like a miracle to happen right in front of their face. You know, if God exists, I want to see him. I want him to part the Red Sea right in front of me. Then maybe I'll believe. And there's the other group of people who want progressive revelation, like if someone just came up and given them the answer. Hey, it's Jesus. Well, that's too simple. Then I don't have to buy all my New Age books. Then I don't have to read my 10,000 stories on the internet about conspiracy theories. I want to constantly be learning. I don't necessarily want to ever get to the point of truth. And I think these people are going to be the great dupes that Satan uses to bring in his final counterfeit kingdom. It's going to be some sort of mystery Babylon-based religion, which is essentially a lot of the esoteric stuff that's now starting to come out from behind the scenes too. It's like, oh, we've hidden all this stuff about who Jesus really was and the Christ consciousness and all these Kabbalah-based type belief systems and sacred geometry, and we've kept it all from the profane. And now in this great time of crisis where the banks are failing and the elites are trying to take control, we're going to step out of the shadows, and again, with the same type of hidden beings that are pretending to be aliens that are manipulating the current NWO, these same dupes are going to be manipulated by these same type of beings to overthrow the current New World Order, to bring in this esoteric paradise. And I just look at how gullible all the people, or not all, but many of the younger people that are into the awakening movement, the conspiracy movement, the alternative movement, you know, they're going to suck all this up. Imagine if if Occupy Wall Street could defeat Wall Street and had a chance to put in all these esoteric principles from the hidden hand, the good side of it, not the bad side that they just defeated, but the good side, to build this paradise that I think will happen. It'll be short-lived, and it'll be a hell on earth. So, spinning all the way back down to the X-Files, what I'm worried is, and I don't know if my worry is going to be right or not, but just like the X-Files in the 90s was used to awaken people, quote, to the conspiracy stuff, now the X-Files in the 90s is going to be used to, quote, expose part of the cabal and to get people really thinking about it. And again, to deflect away from the real plan, which is to defeat them in order to bring in something even worse. And it'll be really interesting for me to watch the next 5 episodes. And again, you know, it could just be Chris Carter making one heck of a show, and he's pulling out general memes that are on the internet. I mean, I don't know. But I'm fairly convinced that alien abductions is happening, and I mean that just as a generic, like, people are being taken. I don't know if it's by aliens or by men or what. Aliens, in my terminology, means demons pretending to be aliens. So there's another interesting book where there was a military think tank that basically came to the same conclusion I did. Very interesting, by Nick Redford. It's called Final Events. Check it out if you ever get a chance. So I'm very curious to see what your thoughts are on the X-Files. I said I wasn't going to be on Twitter for a week, but I'm probably going to break that within an hour. So, leave me your thoughts. You can find me on Twitter at Infocide spelled INFOCYDE. Or I've got a Facebook page. Just search on Infocide and you can find it. Very curious to see what your thoughts are. Anyway, thanks for listening, and keep your head up.